Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of EETV, where I strive to bring everything in entertainment and the Power Rangers 30th anniversary special. Once and always a Ranger. In my overall opinion, I think it was good. They could have made it slightly better, and in my opinion, I think they should have made it a half hour longer. But due to certain things that have happened, the legal troubles that are surrounding Austin St. John, the death of Jason David Frank, and other former cast members not necessarily participating in this, caused a lot of rewrites. Now, because of this, I think things still turned out good, but I think overall things could have been a little bit better, but it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse, and I'm glad it wasn't a lot worse. One thing before I get into this, I will say this. I will be focusing on the things that I stated in my previous video, the most important questions that have to be answered in this special. And then afterwards, I will be giving not so much a review, but just some quick highlights that were good in this special. And I'll just say this too. I think this should continue. I think this special, with every single person in this cast, it should be continued, and they should make it a series, in my opinion, just to flush out the story more, because I think they have something good here, and I think they could flush it out a lot better. But I don't know. By seeing the end of the movie, when they mentioned Billy Cranston going off back into space to be with the Equations again, I think that's where we're going to see Billy, and that's when he's going to meet up with the Rangers from Cosmic Fury. I think that's what's going to take place, and I think that should take place because that's good. But I also think they should flush out this story just a little bit better, because they could also show the way this story was done. It was shown from the point of view of just the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That means Zach, Billy, Kimberly, Jason, Trini, Min, Rocky, Adam, and Aisha. It was basically just their story. Now, not Rocky, but Adam and Aisha weren't in so much of it, and it was more so focused on Min, which is Trini's daughter, and Zach and Billy. But it just focused on the Mighty Morphin team. Now, be that as it may, they could connect this and show it from the point of view from all of the teams of the captured Rangers, and they could make it, not more so a special, but something that connects with the rest of the universe by doing so. But who knows? All right, so let's begin. The first question that I had out there was, who built Robo Rita? My prediction was that, and I was partially right on this, they did get the residual energy from the original Rita, because we all know that the original Rita was featured later on in this series as the mystical mother in Power Rangers Mystic Force. And because of that, we have Rita's good now, but the residual, her evil energy, was left over, which I predicted was there. What I was wrong in, I thought Finster was still around, and he gathered the energy, and some remnants of the Machine Empire helped build a new body to contain that evil energy, and the evil energy remembered all of the original Rita's exploits because it's part of her. I was wrong with that. What did happen was Billy was looking to bring back Zordon and gather the evil energy, the leftover residual energy from Rita Repulsa, and it went inside of Zordon's old energy tube, and then afterwards it came out of the tube, went into Alpha 8's body, and transformed Alpha 8's body into the Robo Rita body that we all been seeing, through this past month. So that's how that happened, which I found that was very creative. I did like that, and I liked how that was done because it gives an overall emotional weight to what's going on. And then Billy's taking on most of the load, and that's why he's more so looking at the leader of the team, because he's taking on a lot of responsibility, because he thinks this is his fault because of him trying to bring back Zordon. Now, while we're on the note of Zordon, I think Zordon might be able to come back. I don't know. I'm on the fence with that. I think they should be able to have some sort of hope. But at the same time, I don't know if Zordon should come back, because then it makes his sacrifice at the end of Power Rangers Space not in void. In order to keep up this and the overall weight of this situation of Power Rangers in Space and what he did for everybody, to banish all of the evil that was existing in the universe at the time, his sacrifice cannot be retconned. It should keep it the way it is. All right, the next thing that we found out, we saw the Phantom Ranger was captured by Robo Rita, but we did not find out his identity. Now, it's been speculated for years that the writers wanted to make Billy Cranston the Phantom Ranger, but with this special, if it is part of the canon, which I think it is part of the canon, with this special having been out there now, we can see Billy, and Billy is not the Phantom Ranger, or because it's also mentioned in there that Billy had a lot of adventures in space, so he could have very well been the original Phantom Ranger, and the powers could have been passed on to somebody, But until that is said, we have to go along with what we've seen, and what we saw was Billy taking care, Billy and the team taking care of the responsibilities of the Rangers, and we saw that the Phantom Ranger was captured. So Billy, as of right now, Billy has not been revealed to be the Phantom Ranger, and the Phantom Ranger's identity is still a secret. The other question that was answered is the Zeo powers are still accessible. If you paid attention in the scene when Robo Rita had captured more Rangers, and she was going along the right side of the panel, right underneath where Jason, Tommy, and Kimberly were captured, we saw at the bottom rack on the right hand side, right after we saw the Phantom Ranger was captured, we saw that Tanya, Zeo Ranger Yellow, Zeo Ranger 2 Yellow was captured, Tanya. So the Zeo Rangers powers are still accessible. What we have also found out is that Rita is using the different Rangers powers to have enough energy to travel back in time. We see her open a portal to herself when she first got out of the space dumpster via the first episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but she is not able to go back in time, and I'm glad they did that, because we already had so much time travel already in Power Rangers overall. So having her see herself in the past but not quite being able to access it, which is great. We can see that all of this that has happened is solely focusing on the Mighty Morphin team and all of its members, even if all of them weren't highlighted. And we focused on more so Rita being the main villain, and it was definitely a lot of nostalgia bait and things that could have been better, but I'm glad they did not go off the deep end and shatter the grid and show the Rangers back in the past again, just like they did in the previous show. Now let's get into some questions that arise when you watch the special. So when you see the captured Rangers, those of you who are not familiar of what's going on, you see that the Phantom Ranger was captured. We see Zeo Ranger 2 Yellow, which is Tanya. the White Dino Thunder, which is White Dino Thunder, which is Trent. They also captured Connor, which is Red Dino Thunder. Of course, we already know that Tommy, Jason, and Kimberly have been captured. Mighty Morphin Green, Red, and Pink. And for Lost Galaxy, Robo Rita has also captured Kai and Leo. That's the Red and Blue Rangers for Lost Galaxy. And Damon, who's the Green Ranger for Lost Galaxy. For Beast Morphers, Robo Rita was able to capture Devin, the Red Ranger, Nate, the Gold Ranger, and Ravi, the Blue Ranger. And for Robo Rita also captured Carlos, the Black Space Ranger. Also captured Ashley, the Yellow Space Ranger. And quite impressive out of all this, I know Tommy Oliver, but Merrick was a nice fighter. She was able to capture Merrick, which was the Silver Wild Force Ranger. So Robo Rita definitely got her hands dirty, and that's another thing I'm going to focus on now. The things that you necessarily did not see during the Mighty Morphin era too much. You never really saw too much of the main bad guys, not the henchmen, like the main bad guys like Lord Zed, Rita, Master Vile. You never saw them until like maybe the last episode go down there and fight the Rangers on hand to hand. We got to see Robo Rita actually fight from the beginning. And I did like that. We also got to see, what I liked is like some of the things that you kind of wondered in this thing, like how come they didn't do certain things? If they're really evil and she's over 10,000 years old, don't you think she would have come up with better plans? And they do focus on this, like when Robo Rita first attacks and then she withdraws, she spends a whole year coming up with this plan. And then not only that, her plans are like salad, like they almost pull it off. So I do like that they made the villains more competent, and then you just didn't see 4 or 5 putties. Like they had a whole army of putties, and they made her more of a threat. I mean, it was still kind of campy, which they did for nostalgia purposes, but they made Robo Rita more of a threat, and they kind of have to, because remember, we're just dealing with just the evil side of Rita. There's no more good, in the evil is reigning over the body like how they did in the past. This is just pure evil energy. Rita Repulsa inside of Alpha 8's transformed body, and that's why they amped up the evil, because there's no more good left in Rita. It's just all evil. Now I'm going to get into things that I've noticed inside of the special that's within the continuity, but also things that you might want to know. Like I said, we already know that Robo Rita doing the hand-to-hand fighting, actually fighting with the wand and using it to attack Billy like we in the other Rangers. That's a plus. We didn't see that before. Also, the film seems to be showing an updated version of the show. Now, they've done this on purpose to pull on the nostalgia strings, but like everything was updated. Now, we still had the cheesy jokes and the references from the 90s, but they kind of twinged it back a little bit, not to make it too cringe. And I did like it, because you ain't want to make it overly cheesy. Another thing that was good was men not being able to morph right away, because everybody, when this show first came out, you know, if you saw one of the morphers, and it didn't matter from what team of Rangers, if you saw one of the morphers, you would think, as long as you had a good heart and you were not like overly bad person, you'd be able to pick up the morpher, yell out the phrase, or the morpher's name, or whoever's associated with the morpher, and then transform into a Ranger. And we could see it's more than that. And men not being able to do it right away because her not earning the heroine status was good. So she had to kind of go through the journey, and she wasn't worthy of it until she became selfless, which I did like that. Also, had you noticed, now some parts didn't make sense and some parts didn't, and what I mean by that is Jason, Tommy, and Kimberly. There were definitely sound bites from them and earlier during the Mighty Morphin era that I could tell it was them. And then it was some parts where it did sound like Jason, but then it didn't sound like Jason. So I guess maybe the sound file was corrupted or whatever happened, and they had to have a voice actor step in. But it was some points you can clearly hear Austin St. John's voice, that you can clearly hear Jason David Frank's voice, and clearly hear Amy Jo Johnson's voice like you did back in the day. So I think they used some sound bites, so that was a plus. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they fixed all of the shortcomings of the villains. Even the henchmen, the lead henchmen, seemed more competent and more of a threat. Also, what I did like, if you paid attention, we got a movie reference from, I think that was the 2014. Don't quote me on the year, but I think it was 2013, 2014 reboot of the Power Rangers, because Robo Rita mentions going back in time to meet the younger versions of Rangers and kill them in their sleep, just the way that Rita Repulsa tried to do in, I think, the 2014 version, and tried to kill the Yellow Ranger, which was Trini, in her sleep. So I did like today they threw that in there. I mean, they were Easter egg upon Easter egg. This was the perfect example right here. When Billy saw that Robo Rita was distracted and he took out Robo Rita with his power lance, that was right there. That was the perfect example of Power Rangers being aged up but not getting too dark. That's the perfect example right there, because we even though we got to see monsters get hit with the weapon, and then they put the weapons together and then blew the monster apart before she threw the wand and made them grow, we never got to see anything like that. I mean, he lashed out with the lance, and you see the lance appear through Robo Rita's body, and that was it, and she shut down. So that was the perfect example of aging up Power Rangers. Also, the explanation of the Zords traveling from Earth to the moon was perfect. You know, they called it, I believe, if I'm not, transmaterializing. Yes, that's what Alpha 9 said. Transmaterializing, when they came together on Earth and then they appeared on the moon. So I'm glad they threw that in there, because in the old show you have them appear in one place and then all of a sudden they were supposed to be fighting somewhere else, and they just appeared there and didn't really give any sort of a quick explanation in how the Zords got there. But I'm glad they did that in the special. Also, for those of you who are video game fans back in the day, we got a nod to the Sega Genesis game, because the last battle on the Sega Genesis version, of the first version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the fighting style Power Rangers, the one that was based using a Street Fighter clone, so to say. The last battle is with you in the Megazord, and it was on the surface of the moon. And we got a nice nod with that, because, you know, the Power Rangers were using the Megazord and they were fighting on the moon, and it was good. And we also got to see that the Megazord, of course, has been upgraded and it can move around a lot better. But they could have did a lot of, I'm going to be frank, they could have done a better job with the CGI. Now, if you compare it to even the recent Super Sentai and recent Power Ranger episodes that have been happening in the past 5 years, you could say, depending on what specific series you're focusing on, the CGI they use for the Zord battle was either on par, worse, or just a tad bit better, depending on what series you're talking about. But I think personally, since it's the 30th anniversary and this special ran about 55 minutes, almost an hour, they could have spent more money and could have come up with a better looking CGI battle than that. It's the 30th anniversary, just not some regular special. Now, always with that, what I did notice in here, that I'm going to just say this, for the hardcore Ranger fans, they're not going to like this. The hardcore Ranger fans are not going to like this. And I'm in that group too. Even though I kind of like seeing everybody back, one of my predictions came true. You know, for the actors they couldn't get because of legal troubles or because they're no longer with us. Rest in peace, Jason David Frank and Thai Trang. They just showed them in their morph versions. And for ones that didn't even fit in the story to show a morphed Ranger, they just used Lightning Collection action figures to show what representative from Ranger teams have been captured. Which I understand, because then you got to pay extra stunt personnel to have someone in the morph form. But I also thought they would have shown more Rangers, and we just got Easter eggs. We didn't get to see any more of the Rangers because they more so wanted to focus on the Mighty Morphin era. And I understand that, but if in the future, if the 30th anniversary lasts a year long, I mean, I don't think Hasbro has done this, but if it was me, in my opinion, not only would I have released I would have released something else that expanded on this special and have gotten more actors involved and shown more Easter eggs towards the rest of the teams, and it had something to tie in with the latest version coming up, which is Cosmic Fury. But that's just me. Now, on to the next point, which I found very entertaining. The reference to Balkan Skull was masterful. When I first heard the music and I saw that they have owned their own bulk food company, it looked great. I thought we would have seen them, but we didn't see them. But what we got was enough to satisfy me, even though I would have liked to see the actors on screen. But, you know, I could tell that they used a recent picture of Balkan Skull and then kind of made it an advertisement out of it. So that was good enough. But I'm glad we got some reference to what was going on. Also, if you also paid attention from not the whole thing, like the whole special as a whole takes place over the course of a year. But after we get the 1 year time skip, that whole Pandora Protocol battle took place within 6 hours, because Adam specifically says that they are out of teleportation range and it's going to take them 6 hours to get there, to get into teleportation range in order for them to help out. And I would have liked to see that, because Adam and Aisha were part of the Mighty Morphin era. I would have liked to see what Ranger powers they would have access to. I mean, you could speculate that Aisha probably would have had something else that was probably put together by the SPA and Billy for her to use, since she passed on the Saber-Tooth Tiger powers, and also she's no longer Zeo Ranger 2 Yellow. Tanya's Zeo Ranger 2 Yellow. So I would have been curious to see what Aisha would have used for her powers. But as far as Adam, Adam, he could have used green Turbo Ranger, because Carlos still has the Space Black Rangers. But then again, Carlos could also have the green Turbo Rangers as well. But wait. To answer my own question, Adam should still have access to his Zeo Ranger 4 green powers, so he could have perhaps used that. And we can also see that the Zeo powers are still active, because we saw the Lightning Collection figure of Tanya when she was captured. So Adam should have been able to transform into Zeo Ranger 4 green. I like that everybody associated also with the Mighty Morphin era, we got an update to what's going on in that character's life. Balkan Skull owning their own food company. Tommy and Kat are married and had the son JJ. Zach was a congressman. Billy owns his own company, Cranston Industries. Rocky is a firefighter. Aisha works with Adam in SPA. And I think I covered, and of course, Min, being a high school student, which is kind of reminiscent of how they started off in the Mighty Morphin era, being Power Rangers, and she is a Power Ranger. And that leads me to my next question. Now, are the old cast members still going to be Power Rangers, or are they going to be passing the torch and kind of more so be an advisory role? I don't know, but I think having a mixture of both young and old on the team, kind of like a mixed team, would be nice. But I definitely think the young lady who plays Min, I forget the actress's name, but I think they should have her in more things to come, because I think she did a great job. Now, also, it was rumored that Selwyn Ward, TJ, was going to be in the special. He was not shown, but he was in the other special when they were doing the Dimension Trouble special, the last special that Jason David Frank was in. So TJ not being there, I wanted to see him there, but he wasn't there. So okay, I don't know, I want to see them there. Also, we did not see Ethan. Ethan was not there. I kind of figured Ethan would be there and would hook up with Billy for them to rub their geniuses together and come up with some more plans, and maybe showing up. I was thinking of maybe Billy was going to speak to Ethan, via the communication on the monitor, and they didn't, but it would have been nice when there. But we did get a Dino Thunder reference through, Connor and Trent being captured by Robo Rita. And Zordon could be found, because at the end of the episode, when they're reminiscing and telling about all the things and all the highlights that Trini went through and how she got to see the memories of Trini, that Zordon could be found. But at the same time Zordon could be found, they could also bring back, and I think Billy is smart enough to notice he has to be careful, because he also could bring back any one of those villains that were taken out by the Z-Wave. So if he's not careful while looking for Zordon, he could possibly bring back Divatox or Rito or Master Vile. Lord Zed's already back, but he can bring back any of those other villains that I mentioned if he's not careful. So he's going to have to build something that allows him to see what residual energy that he's bringing in. Well, overall, I did like the special. I think it should have been longer. And given how some actors over the course of the years of this 30 years of Power Rangers were able to be here and not be here, I think the writers and the producers should have taken more contingency plans in case certain actors or actresses did not want to do it. And I think they should have got more creative with the writing. What I did like how they kind of updated things. Zach doing his hip hop keto, and then Rocky still being kind of like the same old Rocky, being jovial and jokey. I did like those things, but I'm glad they didn't dip too far into the 90s culture, because that would have made people cringe. Like, no, nobody does that anymore. But what we got was good. I do think the special should have been 30 minutes longer, and they should have had Adam and Aisha more in the special as well, since we already know that this filming took place before Jason David Frank's passing, and Amy Jo Johnson also declined to be in the special. They should have taken more liberties with the writing to incorporate some other elements into the show that would have made it a little bit better and more deep dive into what's going on. And I also think it should have been longer. What I also think along with it being an hour and a half to get more into the story, I also think that this should be a series that we should have gotten between about 10 episodes as well to go in more into this, because if they do this thing right, they could go in more into the story and then make the handoff to Cosmic Fury more memorable, and then more people who've like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that have not been watching the series lately, it'll let them watch, it will lead them to watch Cosmic Fury. So I think they should have made this a series and done a proper handoff, but only time will tell. But those are the questions that were answered, and some of the questions that arose while looking at the special. I'm going to give it another watch again, just to watch it, because there are some parts that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the Easter eggs. I'm glad that they were able to pull it off and not make it worse. Now, do I think it could have been better? Yes, it could have been better. But also at the same time, I like what I received. Even though I think it could have been better, I like what I received. Walter Jones, David Yost, my hat's off to them. They did a fantastic job. Kathleen Sutherland and Steve Cardenas, Johnny Young Bosch and Karan Ashley, all of the core actors from the original Mighty Morphin, did an excellent job. You know, I can't even say wish. I know no matter what that, you know, Jason David Frank and Amy Jo Johnson was not going to be available for this, but I do hope that the writers and the producers, not the writers, but the producers, see that treating someone with respect is going to pay off for everyone in the long run. Had they treated the actors with more respect and had Austin St. John not been in trouble, just imagine, you can just imagine how good this would have been had they had everybody from like the entire Mighty Morphin era, you know, all of the representatives into this. And they could have done this, made an hour-and-a-half special, 2-hour special, and then made a movie. And then you could have incorporated the Alien Rangers again. And then you could have thrown in the Zeo powers again. You know, with Tommy being there and with Kimberly being there. You know, you could have had Kat. And you could have had Tanya back too. You could have had Kat and Tanya. And also, you could have had Adam and Rocky more so use the Zeo powers. And then you could have had, of course, Jason and Kimberly and Tommy use their Mighty Morphin powers and kind of merge the teams together, since all of them were Mighty Morphin. And had they been able to do something like that, they really would have done even better than what they did with this. But this, see, once again, it all goes back to respect and treating your actors, treating actors and other people associated with the franchise with respect. It could have been better, but it could have been worse. So I'm in the middle. It's not horrible, shatter the grid, and it's not like flying through the sky like Radbug 2. It's like kind of in the middle. But it gives you enough callbacks from the original team for someone not to completely trash it. That is my honest opinion. But I thank you once again for tuning in. Tell me what you think about this. Let's start a conversation in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe if you feel like it. I'll see you in the next one. May the power protect you. Take care, everybody.